I launched on November the 5th, and I'm gonna try to drop my calendar, a couple of my calendars up here. 2 days later, I got my first booking and they were coming. And then after that, it was just like ping, 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 ping. It was like all of these Airbnb notifications going crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It was lovely, y'all. Hey y'all, it's your girl Ashley and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. So in today's video, y'all, I am so excited because we are talking about how I became a super host in less than how many months? I got my fingers all messed up. 2 months, y'all. Like literally, we launched on Airbnb November the 5th. I found out January the 3rd that I was a super host. That is crazy. So I'm so excited about that, and I want to share that with you guys. If you are aspiring to be a super host, you're just jumping into this game, you don't know what to expect, more that you want to learn, I want to help you reach your goal. I want to help you get there. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ashley. I'm a real estate investor, and so primarily my focus is short-term rentals, but I do have a long-term rental. But right now my primary focus is short-term rentals. So if you are interested in investing, buying properties, flipping properties, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, this is the channel for you. I am giving so much free information. I'm not a real estate agent or broker or anything like that. However, this is good, solid information based off of my personal experience. So if you're interested in anything that I just talked about, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so that you won't miss any of this good free information. And without further ado, let's jump right into this video, guys. Okay, guys, so let's talk about what exactly a superhost is. So we'll talk about what a superhost is, the criteria you have to have in order to become a superhost, and why that's important. Like, what are the benefits to being a superhost? So a superhost is essentially somebody who goes, or a host that goes above and beyond the call of duty. They exceed the expectations of the guests. They have a good response rate, they communicate well, they are highly rated, they just take hospitality to a whole nother level. They care about their reputation, they care about their property, they care about what their guests thinks. That is your superhost. This person is top tier, they're highly rated, and they're just essentially the best of the best. So what criteria do you have to meet in order to become a superhost? So Airbnb, and I'll try to like drop a picture up here, link something up here, but Airbnb specifies exactly what you have to meet in order to become a superhost. So quarterly or every 3 months, Airbnb assesses all of the hosts that are on the platform. So for me, it was essentially like good timing because I launched November the 5th. And so the next review of hosts was going to be January the 1st. So I kind of launched at the perfect time, but not necessarily, because just because I launched in November doesn't necessarily mean that I would have became a super host, because again of the criteria. So the first criteria is you have to have at least 10 stays. So 10 booked stays and the transactions were completed within that 3-month period. If you don't have at least 10 stays, the other criteria that you can meet is, let's say you do like more long-term rentals, like you do in 30-day stays or 60-day stays, you have to have at least 3 long-term stays that equal 100 nights. Additionally, you have to have at or above 4.8% rating. The whole 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. You need the 5 stars. If you want to be a super host, you need the 5 stars because your rating has to be 4.8% or higher when it comes to your overall rating. I'm currently sitting at a 5-star for all of my reviews. So this is really good. I only have 10 reviews right now, but all of them are 5 stars. And I met my criteria of the 10 nights before that 3 months. Also, you have to have a response rate. So you have to be able to communicate to your guests. Like, they want you to have a 90% response rate. So if your guests are reaching out to you, you should be responding. We all have like our cell phones with us at all times. So that's probably one of the easiest of them all, is to just have the response rate. And then the last criteria that you have to meet, you have to have a less than 1% cancellation rate. So essentially, out of 100 stays, you could only have one cancellation. And that's kind of hard because you just never know when something is going to happen. I have not had to cancel on any of my guests, and I hope that it never comes to that, but essentially there's not much leeway when it comes to that criteria. All right, so now we talked about what a superhost is, the criteria to meet the superhost, and then what's the benefit. So I mean, essentially, of course, Airbnb works off of an algorithm. So if you are one of their fan favorites or you are a superhost, of course they're going to promote your listing above someone else, because for them it's about the money. And if you're staying booked, you're getting all of the 5-star reviews, your property is going to elevate above other properties. So it's more exposure. They also give you a 20% increase on whenever you refer. So they have a referment program. Let's say I know someone who wants to become an Airbnb host, and I will put my link or my little tag down below so that if you do decide to host on Airbnb, you can use my tag. It'll put a little change in my pocket, and then it'll put a little change in your pocket. So if you are a super host, like, they have a set amount that they give you if you refer someone. If you are a super host, they give you an additional 20% above that. So that's another benefit to being a super host. So you get a $100 coupon towards any Airbnb stay of your own if you maintain your status for the whole year. Like I said, your booking rates or your revenue is going to be significantly higher than someone who's not a super host, because Airbnb is going to promote you. You also have your own personal, like, customer assistance type line. So if you're a super host, you communicate with like a super host team or customer service team versus like the traditional line or whatever. So there are some benefits. For me, it wasn't more so about the benefits. It's just really because I love the hospitality aspect of utilizing short-term rental platforms such as Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, Furnish Finder. Like, I'm such a people pleaser in a sense. Like, I like to see people like excited and happy, and you know, all of that. It like warms my heart whenever I get the messages left in my guest book, or I get the reviews saying, "Oh my gosh, this was so great, Ashley, we just love you." Da, 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 da. Like, I just be like, "Oh my gosh." And then of course I just post it on Instagram. I'm gonna insert some of my little nice messages from my guests, because it makes you feel good. It makes, man, you know, what if this person was having a bad day or a bad week, and this vacation was to, you know, get their minds off, or whatever the case may be. So I do it for more of the hospitality, but the additional benefits do not hurt. Okay, guys, so now that we have that all out the way, let's get into how we gonna make y'all some super hosts next quarter, if y'all didn't make it this past quarter. So tip number 1, market/location. You have to have a location where there is a market for the business that you are trying to do and the guests that you are trying to attract. So if you watch my videos, you know that I specifically targeted a certain area of San Antonio because it's like less than 5 miles from a military base where Air Force airmen go to boot camp. Boot camp is the hugest, is that a word? Hugest? The most huge. Anyways, Air Force boot camp or any type of military boot camp is a huge accomplishment. That's the one thing that if nobody in your family comes to see you or support you throughout your entire military career, they're coming to your boot camp graduation. So I specifically targeted that market and that location because I know that there is traffic coming through there every week. Every week there's a graduation. So that just made sense. So when we talk about location and market, you have to do your research. You cannot think that just because you have a house in the middle of nowhere, or you have in just like a regular residential neighborhood and there is no type of attractions near you or close to you, or universities and graduations and theme parks, or mountains and oasis. If you don't have that, you can't just say, I'm going to slap my property on Airbnb and it's going to do well and I'm going to become a super host. It just does not work like that. And it doesn't even matter how well your property is set up, how well it's decorated. None of that matters if there is not a demand for that area. So be very specific and very intentional when it comes to and be honest. Be like, is this a good place to set up my business, or do I need to wait until I can come into some income and purchase a property in a location that I know is going to do well? So that's tip number one. Tip number two is find you a mentor. Find you someone who is already doing what it is you are trying to do. So I looked up, and I have a really close friend that I work with. He has a coaching business, and one of his clients is like an Airbnb guru. She has several Airbnbs, and he knew what I was doing, and he kind of linked us together. So Amanda, she was basically the person that when I first set my listing up, she was on the phone with me answering my questions. She kind of gave me the game. She gave me different companies and products that I could reach out to. She just gave me everything because I was new to this. I didn't know anything. So you're going to need a mentor. You're going to need people that are around you doing what it is that you're trying to do. Hopefully they're not the type of people that like to hold on to information or think, other people, you don't want nobody to outdo you, because I'm not that person. So if you need a mentor, hit your girl up. I'll definitely walk you through it. I will. I don't mind. I mean, I'm here sharing this free information for y'all now, but if you want more personal details, you want to ask me more personal questions, you want me to kind of walk you through this process, absolutely drop a comment. Hit me in my DMs. I will be more than welcome to help you. There's also someone that I served in the military with. She is doing very well in California. I will actually put her link up here. She is an amazing point of contact for home decor, or not point of contact, but if you want to be inspired when it comes to decor and the Airbnb side of the business, or just short-term rentals, I will link her information either down below or up here somewhere so that you can go follow her on Instagram. And so I have her also as a resource if I need to reach out to somebody or if Amanda is not available. So tip number 2, find your mentor. If you don't have one, subscribe, hit me in my DMs. I'll be your mentor. Okay, y'all. So come in a little bit closer. Closer? Yes, right there. Tip number 3. This tip, if you don't take anything away from this video, you have to take tip number 3 away from this video. If you are a person that says, I don't like to sit and watch 25-minute long videos, take this tip if you don't take nothing else. If you got to cut the video off, cut it off after this tip. Don't cut it off. Watch to the end. But professional photos. I cannot stress this enough. You need professional photos. I know you're saying I have an iPhone 20. I can take my own photos. I can edit them. This is a business. Invest in your business. Invest the $250 and hire a professional photographer to do your photos. And why do I say this? So I was actually watching a fellow YouTuber and Airbnb host by the name of, I think it's Noble Goes Global, and he was talking about his journey or how to become a super host essentially, and he compared it to being in a love relationship. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. But I was thinking further, and I was like, it's more so online dating. When y'all put y'all Hinge profiles up and y'all eHarmony profiles up, y'all put y'all best pictures up there. Y'all ain't putting no cheap, crappy pictures up there. Y'all put in the legit stuff, the stuff that y'all that had edited, that y'all putting in Video Leap or Bazard, and y'all lighting it up. It's the same thing. Your guests, they don't know you. They don't know your property. So they're on this site and they're essentially trying to figure out if they want to date you or not, or if they want to come and date me, or if they want to date the people down the street. And it's solely off of your pictures and your description. That's all you have to go. That's all they have to go by. When you put your description up about yourself on Hinge, like, you make it elaborate. You fill in all the boxes because you want more responses. It's the same thing with the Airbnb platform. You have to make sure you have professional photos because this is the first impression. This is the eye catcher. They don't know you. You don't get to do an interview. It's essentially like they are scrolling, and you want something. You want to have that photo that's going to catch their eye and make them click on your listing. And I'm going to give y'all a little gem right here. So one of the photos that you definitely want to have, and I'm going to insert mine up here, is a photo that shows like multiple pictures. Because essentially, think about this. When you're scrolling through a listing, everybody just has like a one regular picture. Even if it's a professional photo, it's just that one picture. And then when you get to the one where you see boop, 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 it's just going to automatically draw your eye to that picture. So it kind of gives like, oh, okay. You kind of get like 4 or 5 pictures in one look. That is a tip. I think that's one of the reasons why I really got as many bookings as I got. Because essentially, y'all, once I launched on November the 5th, and I'm going to try to drop my calendar, a couple of my calendars up here. 2 days later, I got my first booking and they were coming. And then after that, it was just like ping, 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 ping. It was like all of these Airbnb notifications going crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It was lovely, y'all. But anyways, I definitely think a lot of that had to do with my presentation, which is going to take me into tip number 4. Okay, y'all. So tip number 4, like, you can't be cheap. I don't know how better to say it, but like, this is your business. So you have to invest in it, and you have to think about those small details and just do it up front. Like, don't like try to be cheap with certain details. Like, make sure, you throw some wallpaper up there. Make sure you get on YouTube and learn how to do a little painting. You want your listing to stand out. Like, you want to have a nice bed and a nice mattress. People are going to comment on that. And if you say, you know what, I'm just going to get a cheap mattress, it's going to hurt you in the long end, because the guests, whenever they write that review, whether you want them or not, they are going to comment about how uncomfortable, how crappy, how squeaky the bed and the mattress was. So just go ahead and do your diligence and be upfront with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Am I in a position where I can put my best foot forward? Or am I going to try to be cheap and skate on important things? If that's you, then this is just not the time right now for you to get into this business, especially considering that everyone is saying that Airbnb is so oversaturated. So there's not a demand, essentially. If you're not the best of the best, you're just going to float to the bottom. So make sure that you are thinking about those small details. Hire somebody to do some wallpaper. Hire somebody to do an accent wall. Do the accent wall yourself. I did it. I'm going to link the video up above. I did the accent wall by myself. But you have to have those things that make your property stand out from other people's. In addition to that, make sure you really present that hospitality. Put you up a cute little welcome board. Welcome Williams family. That makes people like, oh my gosh, even if they wanted to complain about something, they'll be less likely to call you or message you about something, because they're like, oh my gosh, attention to detail. They thought about us. It's personal. It just kind of makes you feel good. Put in some type of nice little pastry. For me, one of the things, my signature mark is my welcome board, and then the decorated sugar cookies. So I have them homemade. It's $3 a cookie, and I typically give 5 or 6 cookies. So that's what, $15 or $18. My lady that does my cookies, I place my orders, and depending on when the guests are arriving, if they're arriving for a graduation, I have her decorate them patriotic with some Air Force stuff, some American flags. When it was Christmas, she did Christmas designs. Those are the small things that guests remember, and they always comment on that stuff. So even if something goes wrong, they are more inclined to overlook it or not hold it against you when they write your review and go ahead and give you the 5 stars, and then they'll send you the private feedback. So there's an option for whenever your guests review you, there's an option for them to send you just like some private feedback. So one of the things that I had, and I'm gonna try to link it up here as well, I had one of my guests, she told me that the size couch that we have in our home, it only seats up to about 4 people. And she was like, if it was 6 of us, so, we need more seating. Even though there's a dinette table, there's 2 bar stools, and there's kind of like a little poof. But what she was saying, 6 grown adults or whatever, you need more seating. I took that. I didn't take it personal. I took it, and you know what I did? I ordered 2 new lounge chairs to put in the living room. So it's those small things like that. And she still gave me 5 stars. She didn't give me less. She was like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing, but this may help you. So that's just tip number 4. Do those fine details. Don't be cheap. Make your guests feel special and make your property stand out with the decor that you choose. If you need help with that, hit me up. I also gave y'all another point of contact. That stuff matters. Tip number 5, make sure if you are not cleaning your own properties that you inspect behind your cleaners. The worst thing that you could have is a dirty property or guests check in and they're like, oh my gosh, the sheets are dirty, or it's got stains on it, or there was dirty dishes left in the dishwasher. You just do not want those problems. That's probably the quickest way to tank your ratings for sure. So if you are going to hire people, make sure that if you're not in the area, you have like a co-host or you have someone that can go follow up to make sure that it was properly done. Or if you're in the area, you should absolutely be going behind your cleaners to make sure that your property is thoroughly clean. So my 6th tip for you guys is good communication. Now, I might get beat up in the comment section about this next tip, especially if there are some other super hosts or just hosts in general watching this video. But this is just my personal opinion. When it comes to communication, I like to be super hands-on with my guests. And what I mean by that is I don't really think the whole automation is a good tool, especially if you are a new host. I currently have 2 short-term rental properties. One is live, one we're working on right now to get it up and live. So there's really no reason why I have to have an automation tool where that's the only way that guests hear from me. I think it's not personable. I think guests will see it and they will kind of know it's kind of like robotish or whatever. So I personally think if you are a new host or you only have 1 or 2 properties, unless you just have this crazy busy life and you're running other businesses or your 8 to 5 is such a demanding job, I would kind of shy away from the automation with only like specific messages that you send out. So for an example, whenever a host books with me, I have one automation message that is set up. So once they book with me, 5 minutes after they book, there is a message that shoots out no matter what, when, how. It's not me. It's just it automatically goes to them saying, hey, thank you for booking with me. I'm so da-da-da, whatever. It says that. After that, once I have time, because that kind of like, gave them a little, okay, she, is tracking, that we're coming or whatever. I'll reach out and say, hey, Sandy, thank you again so much for booking with us. I'm so excited to host you and your family. I will be reaching out to you a little bit, closer to your arrival with more detailed information regarding your stay in the property. And then once they, like a day or so before, I send them a checklist that I personally send out and just, I always put their name in it. So I give them this detailed checklist of, hey, this is where you can find da-da-da-da-da, all of this stuff. And then after that, a quick little safe travels. And I'll let them know when you arrive, can you just shoot me a message to make sure everything is good to go, the house is nice and tidy until you're liking. And that's it. They won't hear from me anymore. Typically, all of my guests are good about sending me a message saying, hey, we arrived, da-da-da. After that, I do not bother them unless they bother me. And typically they don't bother me, and that's kind of how I like it. So I am not overbearing with the information, but I'm definitely communicating with them in human form. I just don't think the automation system is the best system if you can avoid it and if you have time, because the guests pick up on it. I was listening to one video or I was reading some reviews, not video. I was reading some reviews, and one guest said that they had extended their time to check out later with a guest, and then the entire time that they was trying to enjoy their 2 or 3 hours that they had extended to, they just kept getting automated notifications of, it's time for you to check out, and all of the automated messages that go out during that particular host checkout process. They just kept getting them. That person hadn't turned those automated messages off because they're automated, and obviously he wasn't thinking about it, or you kind of get lost or whatever. So I think that's how it can be a bad thing, because it reflected poorly in the review. So again, communication, tip number 6, just be effective, and it affects, your SUPERHOST status. Tip number 7. So I think personally, one of the reasons why I did reach the SUPERHOST status so quickly was because, like I said, my photos, like, they were eye-catching, they were professional, and then I really give really good hospitality. That reflects in my reviews, which makes other people want to book with you. But one of the other things that I do well, and it's a tip for you, is to overstock. Like, the most that and again, it goes back to, this is not me like being wasteful, but it's me not being cheap. I'm going to put enough creamer in the creamer little jar to make sure that my guests are comfortable. I'm going to give them enough coffee cups. I'm going to overstock the toilet paper. I'm not just going to leave 2 rolls of toilet paper, because what happens is you can't really control what they do or how they run out of toilet paper. So if a guest, you only leave them 2 rolls, and the guest contacts you and says, we're out of toilet paper, you got to go over there and take them more toilet paper anyway. Or you got to reach out to your co-host if you're not local and have somebody to take them toilet paper. And you can't argue with them. What you going to say? Well, I gave y'all 2 rolls. What y'all do with it? Like, you can't do that. So you might as well go ahead and make it as comfortable as possible for them and for you, so that you won't have to be interrupted. That's another reason why I feel like I don't really get bothered by my guests, because I make sure they have plenty of white towels. And if you don't believe me, I will show you a review where someone literally commented specifically on that, the fact that I left them more than enough white towels. I wasn't like, okay, it's just going to be 1 or 2 towels per person, and that's all I'm going to give them. I'll give them that, but I'll also throw in some extra, because I know that things happen. And some hosts may say, well, you're just wasting money and they're going to destroy your stuff. But I would rather be over prepared or overstocking instead of just kind of like being cheap, or having them have to bother me, or them leaving a review saying, well, we wish we would have had this, that, and the other. So tip number 7, overstock as much as you can. Not to break the bank, but definitely overstock a little bit. So tip number 8. So tip number 8 is going to be all about your guest book and your house manual. I just think it's super important to go and have your guest book filled out, where you can list popular restaurants, popular attractions, things for kids to do, things for families to do, things to fine dining for your guests. You want to have that in your guest book. The Airbnb platform has it set up where you can do it, and it's pretty user friendly and it's pretty easy to set up. You have to, have the places that you want to input, but they essentially will pull the pictures for you. So all you're really doing is find the places, they're going to pull the pictures, and then you're writing a description about the place. So that's one thing that I think is super helpful. I think that guests really enjoy you having that online, so they can kind of prepare their trip before they come for the days that they do have free time. In addition to that, I think that it's super important that you have a guest manual. So for my book Inside of My Home, I include all of the items and the attractions that are in the online book into that book. But in addition to that, I put the nearest hospital, the nearest pharmacy, the nearest like primary care or urgent care type clinic. I put my personal information if they need to get in contact with me. I also put like the nearest Walmart, the nearest CVS, the restaurants that deliver within where I live, all of the like outlying restaurants that's like a couple of blocks up the highway, or like fast food, like places that they can get quick food from that's not far from the house, as well as the nearest grocery store. So I think guests really appreciate that. I've had comments about that. The guest manual is super important. So that's another thing that will help you earn those 5-star reviews and help you ultimately become a superhost. Tip number 9. So my tip number 9 for you guys is be flexible on your check-in and check-out time if you can. I am able to be a little bit flexible, probably more so than others, because I'm not on a tight schedule with the same day check-in, check-outs. Because I clean my property myself, I always book a day before and a day after each booking. So I give myself a full day to be able to clean. So therefore, I can allow a guest to check in at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock versus somebody who says check-in is after 3 p.m. I can also allow them to check out a little bit later, complimentary, or in my listing, I say that I charge like $25 per hour. But typically, if I have like a day, I will just reach out to my guests and say, hey, if you need it, you can check out an hour later, or you can check in an hour earlier, complimentary of me if you need it. I'll let them know that. And they really appreciate that. And even when I like put my house rules or I put my check-in times in, I think that's one of the other things that will separate me from the masses. Essentially, if you're scrolling and you see that I allow you to check in at 1 p.m. and another host will not allow you to check in to 3 p.m., sometimes after 4 p.m., you will probably be more inclined to book with me, especially if you're trying to get to that city and get more like action and go ahead and get settled in, or you have plans and you want to get in early. You might go with me over them just based off of the check-in time. So I think that's a good little tip that some people don't think about. And then my last tip, tip number 10, is going to be the flexibility of your cancellation policy. Within the Airbnb platform, they have like 8 different like cancellation policies that you can go with. And I just think the more flexible you are, the more likely someone will book with you, because they're like, okay, well, if I book now, I know I at least got this time frame to have a refund if something happens. I'm saying that this is a tip, but I don't follow this tip myself. My cancellation policy is pretty strict, one of the stricter ones, because I just don't want to take that chance. But I do think, and I haven't had an issue where I'm not getting bookings. If I wasn't getting bookings and I was going back to reevaluate, like, what am I doing wrong? Where can I change some things? How can I be a little bit more flexible? That would be one of the things that I would change if I was not getting bookings. I would go and be like, okay, well, let me be a little bit more generous on my cancellation policy, and maybe I can get more bookings that way. So those are my 10 tips, guys. I hope this video was super helpful for you. Like I said, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy giving this information. I'm so excited that I became a superhost in such a short period of time. And I hope and wish and pray the same thing for you guys. As always, I love you. Thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and make sure you guys are right back here next week for my next video. Bye, guys.